We're working on animated short in the school lab. It's 11:30. We're locked in. We're stuck in here. We are staying overnight.
Welcome to 15 over 15, the show where Sharp and I make an entire short in 1 week for 15 weeks. Now, some of you who have been watching for a while might be saying, you're not making a short every week. And to that I say, wrong. Here's the deal. We already made all 15 shorts. We did it. We made one film every week for 15 weeks straight with no break. The reason there are gaps in time for our uploads are because of these videos. The making of videos, our retrospectives as we call it. Instead of just uploading the shorts, we want to take you on the journey that we went through to make them, and it takes time to make these videos. We could probably get these videos done in a week as well if we weren't working full-time jobs. I personally work as a 3D animator on a little show called The Amazing Digital Circus. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about how we made our last short, which you should totally watch, and how working on that short got us locked into our school overnight. Sharp and I take turns directing. This week, I'm directing. If you haven't caught on yet, the person who makes the retrospective video was the person who directed that short. So, without further ado, let's jump into the pre-production meeting to see how we came up with the ideas for the film.
Okay, 15 over 15, week 8. I had no idea how we're still doing this, but hell yeah. Like, I'm at the point where like I forget which films are which. I'm starting to just forget about them just because we've done so many. Which, I don't know, I think that's kind of what or at least what I wanted, just to get so used to production I don't even think about it anymore. God. Okay, tell me when you're ready to generate your random number so we can make another film.
Go.
5. We already did that one. 13. Noir.
I kind of almost thought of the Batman animated cartoon opening, because it kind of feels noir, and there's no dialogue, but we know the gist of what's going down. Like with the shadows and everything, it feels noir to me. And then,
Yeah. Like, that's very noir. Do we want to do another short where somebody dies?
Have any of our shorts had a happy ending?
Yeah. Week 4.
But none of the others, right?
I don't believe so.
Week 1, the alien dies. Week 2, the kid dies. Week 3, the girl dies. Week 4 is our happy one. Week 5 is...
Superhero dies. Or
Superhero dies.
Flies off into the sun.
So they die. And then sitcom, he finds out he's trapped in a thing, so that could be considered a not happy ending. Week 7, the guy is in misery, just sweating in bed.
We have very few happy endings.
So we have our character. We have Guy, detective or investigator, whatever. What is his goal? What is his objective? It is to stop criminal from whatever he's doing. Okay, what is getting in the way of that? Probably criminal himself, right?
Yeah. Well, what is the criminal doing?
I assume it was just like trying to escape. I feel like they've already committed the crime, sort of a confrontation sort of moment.
Like, we're just here to talk. We're just here to talk.
I ain't going back. Do we like Deus Ex Machina sort of thing, where like it's just the main guy and the shoot criminal, and the main guy gets injured, and the Deus Ex Machina is like the partner arrives to help him?
I do like the idea of like beating the shit out of our main detective guy. Maybe like what happens is our partner gets incapacitated somehow, maybe he gets shot or something. Our main detective guy is trying to fight the bad guy, and the bad guy like drops his gun and starts beating the shit out of him.
And then the partner picks up the drop gun.
Oh, he could do that, yeah.
Okay, so after the pre-production meeting, we had an idea of what we wanted to do. I went off and finished the storyboards this time around, and Sharp did the character designs. The idea behind the character designs is that we wanted to go for a simple yet graphic approach. Ideally, the characters would mostly be just silhouette, their outline with very little detail inside that outline. The location we decided on was an empty warehouse. To get an idea of the space and where our characters were standing, we made a 3D layout in Blender. We've mentioned in the past that we would also like to collaborate with people sometimes while making these shorts. So we reached out to someone we had worked with on the week 2 short, Monika. We gave Monika the 3D layout, and by hand, she drew some of the backgrounds for the film. The look she set for these backgrounds would become the template for when Sharp went and completed the rest of the backgrounds, trying to match her brush settings as best as possible. I think they both did an awesome job and really helped set the look of the film. Now let's talk about some of the animation. This time around, I thought it would be cool if I tried recording some reference for some of my shots. Namely, the one where the guy's punching the other one and then gets shot through the chest. Shot through the heart, and you're to blame. One of the characters has a gun, and a gun has a lot of small details that can be hard to keep track of over multiple frames, especially when you're doing it by hand. So to make things easier, we found a 3D model of a gun, imported it into Blender, and traced it. And if you want, since we're working in Harmony, we could also import an FBX into Harmony and pose the 3D gun in there. There's a shot of the gun falling in front of the camera. Instead of tracing that was an opportunity where we could just use grease pencil / freestyle lines from Blender. So I animated the shot in Blender, exported a PNG sequence, and then brought that into Toon Boom Harmony. We also brought on another collaborator for this week. One of the shots was animated by an animator named Astro. The original shot I storyboarded looked kind of flat, so Monika lowered the angle even more in her background, and then on top of that, Astro animated this cool punch from a really low angle. I don't think I could have done it better personally. It's also one of my favorite shots in the short. That's a moment where collaboration outside of just Sharp and I really helped the film. There is one shot with a tiny bit of rigged animation, just to help save time. Rigged animation is sort of a puppet instead of having to draw every frame. If you're curious about how that all works, there's another retrospective, the one for week 6, where I go more in depth on how that all works. 2 shots stand out as the ones I kind of enjoyed animating. The one where the guy gets thrown, and the one where the guy is on top punching and gets shot. Like I said, the one where the guy's on top, I used reference for that, so I had a baseline to try and push the animation. The one where the guy gets thrown, that was just straight out of my head, and I got to play around with the timing, try and really emphasize certain key poses, and play around with weight. Now, with all this going on, we were actually running behind. More behind than I'd say we usually are, right? We want to make these shorts in a week. Technically less than a week, if we're being ideal. We start on Sunday with the pre-production meeting and finish on Saturday, and then start the next short on Sunday. Well, it was Friday, and we still had a good bit of work to do. In fact, Friday ended, and we still weren't where we needed to be. So, what did we do? Well, we went into the school labs on Saturday. We are student workers, both Sharp and I, so we generally behave responsibly in the school building. We want to keep our jobs, and it affords us certain privileges, like having access to the school lab because we know the door code, which is usually where we work on our shorts. So Saturday rolls around, and we get up and hunker down in the lab to try and get this short done on time.
Quick update. This was a rough week just because a lot of work to do, and so I think this is the first week, which is week 8, right?
Yeah, this is week 8.
Week 8 is the first week we're actually still in the lab animating. Yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah, we called in extra help just for one shot from an external animator called Asteroid.
They are very poggers.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
We're just working and working and working throughout the day, and we notice it's getting kind of late, and we just think to ourselves, well, usually whenever we come in on a Saturday, security will kick us out when it's time to go. It gets pretty late, and eventually I get up, go over to check on a window where I could see the security, and they're gone. Security left us.
It's locked, like the door is actually locked. You can't open it.
So here we are, 15 or 15, working on week 8. We came on a Saturday. Security guard saw us walk in. We tapped in.
Yeah.
We went into the lab. We're just working this whole time, and we're just waiting for security to kick us out. There was the idea that, don't they usually close earlier on a Saturday? Like maybe kick us around 7. It's 11. 11 is when they kick us out normally in the week. By 11 during the week, they're out. They come in and say, "You got to go." That didn't happen. So I go, just to make sure that, we're not forgotten and locked inside the school lab. I go over here because this is where we're usually set up. There's nobody there. There's no one here. This is a story to tell, but I would have liked to go home and sleep in my bed.
I don't know. It might be risky to walk around the building because there might be an alarm.
Yeah, I don't want to accidentally trigger something.
We don't know what to do. Do we leave? No, we don't. And the reason why we didn't just leave right then and there is because certain doors in the school, after a specific time, set off an alarm. And we didn't want to risk causing a whole lot of unneeded trouble by opening the front door after hours and alerting the police or something. So we decided the best course of action was to just wait here throughout the rest of the night. And in the morning, when security opens back up, that's when we can leave. And, it actually worked out in our favor because the short still wasn't done. So we just got right back on the grind, toiling away at the short, making sure we can complete it. So the rest of the stuff I'm talking about was taking place while we were locked in the school. While working, we got in a call with friends to chit-chat, just so we're not by our lonesome.
Hi, we're trapped in the lab. This is what happens when you try too hard and you get so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. Do you hear that?
Huh?
Aw. Who's this?
What the fuck? You guys are still in there?
They got locked in. They're locked in.
What did you fucking expect?
Why are you out in the lab this late?
It's not
They
just
got
me,
locked
it's
in.
Genus too.
Hi, Genus. I feel like you have the power to just. Oh my god, you guys are still there.
Who's
Yeah, they got
is
locked in.
that?
By this point, Sharp and I had been working together on projects for quite a while now. We are several weeks into the 15 over 15 project, right? Sharp and I have spent a lot of time together. So much time, in fact, that there was a moment in one of the prior weeks where we were working together. We saw a comment by someone else mentioning how we had a lot of dead space in our upper thirds, and they were absolutely correct. So Sharp and I agreed on the note and went back to working. After a few seconds of silence, no warning, both of us, in sync, turned to each other, made the exact same hand movement, and said in perfect sync, "I'll show you dead space." So that just shows how much Sharp and I have put into this project, spending so much time together that our brave waves are sinking. As we're working in the lab overnight, we finish the cleanup and move into one of my favorite parts, compositing. My two favorite parts are rough animation and compositing. Most of the compositing for this short was done in Toon Boom Harmony. It has a really great node system, I think, and I just love node-based compositing. So the lighting in the short is really simple. For moments we want bloom, all I would have to do in Harmony is add a gradient node and position it how I wanted. Change the blend mode to screen or add or whatever I like to get the effect that I desire. Shading on the characters is actually quite simple as well. We don't want to hand draw all that, right? So the node that we used worked by taking the image of our character, slightly moving it to the side, whichever side I chose, and uses that shifted image to make the shadow. And that's how the lighting was done for pretty much all the shots. Another thing we did was use this node called variable blur. Variable blur works by taking an alpha gradient, and depending on your settings, the more opaque part of the gradient tells the variable blur to blur the background more or less. We use this to simulate depth of field that you would get with an actual camera. There was a little bit of compositing taken into After Effects, namely the punch Astro did. I wanted to give it a little bit of extra oomph. So what I did was take it into After Effects to help push the impact that Astro gave us. I put a bit of a radial blur on the point of impact that is there for a few frames, and this small camera shake to really emphasize the punch. And that's it. The film ends nicely with a fade out glitch. What? Sorry, one moment, I need to call Sharp. Okay, we're back. Anyways, I mentioned that one of the shots had rigged animation. Since the rigged animation was a bit too clean compared to the other shots, we reused some custom nodes I made for the last short. This custom node I developed cuts holes in the line art. The reason I made this node for the last short was because Sharp usually has a bunch of gaps in his line art, whereas I have a lot less. And we want a film to be as consistent as we can possibly get with the amount of time we have. So instead of slowing down Sharp by changing his drawing style, we'll use technology to just cut a bunch of holes out of my line art. And then I reused another node I had made all the way back on a project called Screenwriters to add a little bit of line boil. Line boil is just subtle movement in the line art. Alright, with compositing taken care of, we just needed to export everything. Now, it can be annoying to have to go through each file and export it by hand, so there's another tool I made, and it's really simple. It's called a batch file. And what this batch file does is search through my files and looks for Toon Boom Harmony project files. It adds those files to a list, and that list is what's going to be used so the computer knows what files need to be exported. I originally made this for Screenwriters as well, but we didn't really get to use it on Screenwriters. But we found opportunities to use it for 15/15. We used it for our week 2 short, which was also made in Toon Boom Harmony, and now we used it for our week 8 short. It's a basic script, it does its job, and I'm happy with it. You can also make these kinds of exporters for Blender as well. The film is done. We did it. All it took was us being trapped in the school overnight. There's some visual symmetry in our storytelling with the short. We have the same establishing and closing shot, and we have the partner giving a thumbs up at the beginning of the short and at the end of the short. The film's music was done by our wonderful, wonderful composer, Lukša. I had reached out and I told him, this is the kind of music I want, this is the kind of film we're making, can you make something? He was like, yeah, I got you. The big influence, right, was the Batman, the animated series, in both our visuals and in the music. One of the references I sent Lukša was the animated series theme song, and I think you can hear some of that in the final score. The sound design was done by my friend Chris. Similar spiel, there's some back and forth. I tell him what I want. He's like, all right, I got you. I gave him the direction of trying to emulate 50s/40s sound design as best he could, even to the point where the quality of the sound is purposefully muddled a bit with this filter to try and make it sound older. And this filter was also applied to the music to make things more cohesive in the sound department. You know, I think both Lukša and Chris did an amazing job, so thank you guys. With the film done, we could kinda rest? Sorta. We're still stuck in the school, so what Sharp and I had to do was just find a little corner and sleep on the floor. It is unfortunate we got locked in, but we got a funny story out of it, and it ultimately benefited us since it allowed us to finish the film on time. The funny thing is, due to the nature of this project, as soon as we escape the school, we're just gonna get in another pre-production meeting. Morning came around. I barely got any sleep. It was cold and the floor was hard. I think Sharp just passed right out, alright, so he got some rest. Security, we think, came in, alright, and so what we did was we didn't want to run into security because they're like, how are you in here before us? So we kind of took a roundabout way and left through another door, and we just didn't turn back. Fun times. And that is the story of how we both made a film and got locked in the school overnight. If you like these videos, share them around, please. Part of why we're making these retrospective videos is not only to bring you on the journey that we went through, but it's also to help bring attention to all the hard work we put into making those shorts. They may not be the best shorts and they may not be always pretty, but I don't know, we want people to see them. So if you could share them and leave a comment about what you like, that'll probably help the algorithm and help us. But yeah, if you've made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. And I don't think I've gotten to say it yet, but thank you for 1,000 subscribers on this channel. It means a lot. We'll see you at the next short. Personally, it's one of my favorites.